It's good to be true. Mighty Mark had not been a very easygoing diesel for several days since he had been getting Layla into trouble for the mess at Brendam Docks. He wanted to play tricks on the steam engines, but he knew he wasn't allowed to do that because the Fat Controller was still always watching him, and he was still looking for an opportunity to redeem himself. One morning he was at the station when Oliver arrived. "Hi, Mighty Mark," he said. How are you?" "I'm not ever so good," said Mighty Mark. Why?" said Oliver. "Because," he said to himself, "you think I'm no good this time," he said. But Oliver laughed. "You know you're just making this up," he said, "and take notice of the other diesels, saying that they're better than us steamies. Just join us again and be your old normal self, just like you used to be." Mighty Mark did not want to. He knew he was tempting to, but he didn't want to do that yet. He was still deciding on which choices he had to make. The guard blew his whistle and Oliver was ready. "Goodbye, Mighty," he said, and he pushed away. Mighty Mark was still waiting for the Fat Controller to arrive. At last he was ready. "I want you to take a goods train to the quarry today," he said, "and I'm trusting you not to cause any trouble this time." "Yes, sir," said Mighty Mark. "Yes, sir," said Mighty Mark. "I won't cause any trouble, sir." "Good," said the Fat Controller. "Now Rusty is going to take your trucks to you for a while," he said, and the Fat Controller walked away. Mighty Mark waited patiently. At last Rusty was ready. He had already shunted his trucks. Mighty Mark was coupled to the train. "See you later, Mighty Mark," said Rusty. "Okay, see you later," said Mighty Mark, and he steamed away. He was still on his way to the quarry. The trucks were still quiet, and Mighty Mark was still getting used to it. "I'm fast as I am," he said, as he speeded along the hill. Mighty Mark went through Shake Bridge. At last he knew he was at the quarry. He stopped just in time and was finally there. Just then he met Belle at the quarry. "Hey there," she said. "Are you still in a good mood?" "I hope so," said Mighty Mark, "all because you all think I have to give up my own ways from the other diesels, disliking you all." "Come on," said Belle. "We all know that's true. You are what you used to be, a spotless record diesel," she said. "Go back to your normal self. We've always liked you, you know." Mighty Mark was trying to depend on his decision, but he knew he couldn't do that at the moment. "I'll explain later," he said. "Very well," said Belle. "Keep up the good work," and she pushed away. "Stupid steamies," thought Mighty Mark. "It's only a matter of time until they're turned into good riddance," he said. Or shall coming back to my old normal self won't be a change," he thought, but he couldn't decide. The next day later, Mighty Mark had finally came back to his old easygoing self, and the other engines deserved to like him again. He had been very good. Just then he found Layla at the station. "Hi," he said. "I'm sorry for before." Layla was surprised. You are? Said Layla. Then why did you do it? After you were so mean. I just didn't think, said Mighty Mark. I was so confused and really angry with myself, he said. I just didn't think at all. I was confused. Really, said Layla. I know what it's like. You can't control what you must control, can't you? I know, said Mighty Mark. And I wish I could do anything about it again. I know what it's like now, said Layla. And I see you two are sorry. Yes, said Mark. We're really sorry. And I hope this will be forgotten forever, said Mighty. Sure, said Layla. Let's not forget that happened. At least we're friends, though. Sure, said Mighty. And with that, the two engines were friends again. And Layla still had work to do. Go. See ya. And if there's any problems, I'll leave them to me. Thank you, said Mighty. You're welcome, said Layla. And Layla was off. And that made Mighty Mark feel better. Later, Layla was pulling some passengers to the countryside. Layla loved pulling passenger trains. It was her favourite start of the Sodor Railway. She was still pulling the passengers when suddenly there was trouble. Layla slowed down and came to a stop. Her driver and fireman came to see what was happening. You've run out of water, he said. I'm afraid we're going to have to ring for help. Layla knew this was going to be the end of her life. Her driver and fireman telephoned for help. At last, Layla's driver and fireman came back when they phoned for help. Layla, said her driver and fireman, Mighty Mark has finally come to help you. Really, said Layla, after all this time, after his apology to me this morning. That's right, said the driver and fireman. Here he comes now. And there was Mighty Mac at the back of the train. You want any help? He said. Yes, please, said Layla. I want you to push me. Sure, said Mighty. And at last they pushed the train, and Layla was ready to go. Layla was enjoying this ride, and she was becoming really excited about it. And Mighty Mark was pushing as hard as he can. I can do it, he pushed. Oh, I've done it, he said. At last, she had pushed the train down the hill, and Layla with it. Thank you, said Layla, and at last they were almost at the station. It was sunset, but the two engines didn't mind it being sunset. The day was almost over, and at last Layla reached the station once more. The passengers were finally home, and they left the station for good. The Fat Controller who had been on the train came to congratulate Mighty Mark. You have certainly put things right, he said. For a treat you can stay forever, only if you promise to be good again. You have redeemed yourself. Thank you, sir, said Mighty Mark. I am really useful, and you have really helped Layla for a lot of trouble. Thank you, sir, said Mighty. And Layla, you have been good all this time to me. I have, said Layla, and you helped me too. Mighty Mark smiled happily, and with that, he and Layla were friends forever.